In this video, I will share the format for writing the methods or methodology section of a quantitative several research paper. Typically, this section is the third main section in the body of a research paper and is heading as either methods or methodology. This section has a standardized format, so I always keep one of my papers nearby and follow its format when writing the method section for my new papers. The complete form of the method section consists of 5 subsections including design, participants, measures, data analysis, and ethical consideration. Depending on the journal's formatting guidelines, you may break down each subsection or combine some of them. However, the content remains the same. Let's review them in detail. 1. Design. In the design subsection, you need to address several items. Item 1, study design. Begin by stating the study design of your research. For example, for quantitative several research, you can mention cross-sectional, questionnaire-based, and correlational. As you can see, the first sentence in many of my quantitative several research papers is usually, this study used a cross-sectional, questionnaire-based survey. Item 2, research setting. Provide information about where the study took place, including the geographical location and any relevant information about the context, and specify the time frame during which the data collection occurred. Item 3, participant recruitment. Explain how participants were recruited for the study. Mention any eligibility criteria for inclusion, such as age, or any specific characteristic that you have considered for the inclusion of the participants. Also indicate if any exclusion criteria were applied. You can provide the information regarding these items in other sections of the methods too. Just ensure that you cover them in the method section properly. For example, in this paper, we address the inclusion criteria in the section titled as participants. Or researchers in the field of health and medical sciences usually consider a separate section for inclusion and exclusion criteria. Item 4, sampling technique. Some researchers provide sampling technique and sample size determination in a separate section titled as sampling. However, I prefer to include this information in the design subsection. In this part, describe the sampling technique used, which is in most cases convenient sampling or purposive sampling, and ensure you provide a rationale for the chosen sampling method and how it aligns with your research objectives. Item 5, sample size determination. If relevant, explain how you determine the sample size. However, avoid providing too many details like, for example, formulas to compute the sample size. Keep it short. Usually 1 to 2 sentences are enough. Also ensure the sample size is justified by the study's goals and hypothesis. As you can see in this paper, we address items 2 to 5 in just one paragraph. We mentioned we used the convenient sampling technique and the sample size was 471 young adults studying in a private university in the Klang Valley area of Malaysia in 2018. We also justified the sample size using power analysis. Item 6, data collection procedure. If relevant, explain the process of data collection from start to finish. For example, explain how participants were approached or contacted. Mention any introductory procedures or explanations given to participants. Specify any tools or materials used for data collection, such as questionnaires, online platforms, and so on. A very good example can be my paper on online financial trading among young adults. Go through this section in my paper and see how I have explained the data collection procedure in this section. 2. Participants. In this subsection, provide an overview of the key characteristics of participants such as age, gender, marital status, educational background, and employment status. Also, only if relevant, mention ethnic background and religious affiliations or any other factors. And you need to report the respective percentages and frequency. To report the continuous variables such as age, report statistics such as range, mean, and standard deviation. And for the categorical variables such as gender or educational levels, summarize the results with frequency and percentages. For example, this is my favorite format to report the demographics information. Participants' age ranged from 18 to 86 years old. Then we reported the mean and standard deviation of age. Next, we have reported the frequency and percentage of males and marital status. And this is another example. You can provide a table to summarize the socio-demographic information as well. For example, see Table 1 in this paper published in International Journal of Bank Marketing. Subsection 3, Measures. In the Measures subsection, which may also be titled as Instruments, you should provide an explanation of how different constructs or variables have been measured. Specifically, you should define each variable or construct and explain several aspects of the measures. For example, what aspects of the construct is measured, what instrument is used, the number of items in the instrument, and a reference to the developer of the instrument or the source you borrowed the instrument from, and include an example of one of the items. Then clarify the measurement method. For example, if the measurement is based on a Likert scale, describe the range of Likert scale options and the interpretations of the lowest and highest ends of the range. For example, see this one. Each item of the scale was measured on a 7-point Likert scale that ranged from 1 means strongly disagree to 7 means strongly agree. This is the reporting format that I use in many of my papers. Some journals encourage the inclusion of reliability measures like Cronbach alpha in this section for each construct too. However, I prefer to report all reliability and validity measures in the results section of the paper. Subsection 4, Data Analysis. In this subsection, you need to explain how you analyze the data. So the explanations on the data analysis methods are provided here, and then in the results section of the paper, you will only report the findings or statistical results of your paper. The data analysis in quantitative survey research papers usually consists of two main steps. First, descriptive statistics of the variables are presented. Continuous variables are usually summarized using the mean and standard deviation, while categorical variables are presented as frequencies and percentages. For example, see Table 2 in my paper published in International Journal of Bank Marketing. As you can see, we reported the mean and standard deviation for the values of the constructs. The second step involves testing the model, which in turn consists of two main components. First, there is the measurement model assessment, which involves evaluating the reliability and validity of the constructs. Second, there is the structural model assessment or hypothesis testing, which is examining the relationships between the constructs and variables. If you go through my papers, you will see that the data analysis sections of these papers are very similar. So feel free to use this template in your paper too. Following my approach, explicitly state that you are testing the measurement model and a structural model. Also specify the software and methodology used and provide a rationale for your choices. Next, explain how you assess the reliability and validity of the constructs. For example, if you are using SEM, you can state, to evaluate reliability and construct validity, we computed various measures, including Cronbach alpha, factor loadings, composite reliability, average variance extracted, and the maximum shared variance of the constructs. Following this, specify the threshold that indicate good reliability and validity measures. For example, as demonstrated in our paper, we established the Cronbach alpha and composite reliability values exceeding 0.7, indicating strong construct reliability. For convergent validity, an AV greater than 0.5 is satisfactory. For assessing discriminant validity, we refer to the criteria outlined by Forner and Larker. In the second part, we describe how we test the hypothesis and the structural model. Your paper may involve testing a mediator, a moderator, or a moderated mediation model, and you need to explain how you conducted these tests. For example, in this paper, we followed the common approach for testing mediation, which involves two steps: assessing the total effect and then adding the mediator to the model to evaluate the mediating effects. If you calculate the latent variable scores for the constructs and treat them as observed variables, explain the method you use for this process. And in your final statement, specify whether you conducted a one-tailed or a two-tailed test and whether you used a significance level of less than 0.01 or 0.05. And the final tip, don't provide too many details in this section. Subsection 5, Ethical Consideration. The details you provide in this subsection depends on the requirements of the journal, the sensitivity of your topic, and vulnerability of your participants. An easy solution is to use my format, of course, if applicable. You can just fill in the blank parts of this statement. The study protocol and the consent form were approved by the ethical committee of the name of the ethics committee and the approval number. Then you can continue as eligible participants were provided informed consent. An overview of the objectives of the study was provided to the participants, and they were assured that all questionnaires returned were anonymous and participation in the study was voluntary.